This episode is sponsored by Revel Woods. Revel Woods is your source for premium hardwood and resilient flooring. Using the Revel Woods Selector tool, you will be able to find curated suggestions for each specific project based on criteria such as style, color, zip code, and usage. Because the species of wood that performs in a laundry room in Key West is not going to be the same as the wood that will perform in a living room in Chicago. And how do you know that? Well, Revel Woods helps you. Know before you specify. And when you sign up for a free professional membership, you'll get access to exclusive discounts and referral benefits. Visit revelwoods.com to get started. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. I have to say, I've been loving the super couple and super team dynamic conversations that we've had a lot on the show lately. We recently had Becky and Nathan Vandenbroek from Hygge Design and Build on the show, and they were giving tips on successful design businesses, design build businesses, I should say, and also working with your partner. And we will link that episode in the show notes. So good stuff here. And today is no different. I'm joined by B+G Sugerman and Giselle Loor Sugerman, founders of B+G Design Incorporated, which is an award-winning Miami-based interior design firm. This husband and wife team has been featured on NBC, CBS, HGTV, and they are widely regarded as industry experts. B+G projects have been featured in many publications, including AD Pro, Aspire, Florida Design, The Wall Street Journal, and others. Their luxury firm is recognized for its innovative bespoke interiors that exude signature aesthetics, functional minimalism, and a warm contemporary appeal. As Ocean Home's top coastal designers, B+G Design's resume is also home to many awards like the ASID South Florida Design Excellence Award. So I have to say, in this conversation, I saw a lot of me and the Vin Man in Giselle and Brett. I'll be curious to see if you notice it as well. Now, before we get to the show, I just want to say, have you opened your account with Kravet Inc. yet? Kravet is your source for fabrics, wallpaper, trims, furniture, rugs, accessories, and more. And with the majority of Kravet Inc. products being in stock and ready to ship in days, it makes your life so much easier. And jot down this code, AWDB10, a well-designed business, right? AWDB10, because you can use this code for 10% off any one order of Kravet fabric, wallpaper, or trim. Go to Kravet.com to open your account today. All righty, let's meet Brett and Giselle. Hey, Brett and Giselle. How are you guys? Welcome to A Well-Designed Business.
Hey, LuAnn. Thanks for having us.
Hi. Good to be here.
I am happy to have you guys. We've been chatting a little off air as per typical. Sometimes it goes longer than it should, but it's been great getting to know both of you, and I'm looking forward to the conversation. The interesting thing for me is there's a lot of places that this conversation could go. It's clear your depth of experience and all the places, but I kind of want to settle on this branding type of a thing, this question of creating an authentic brand, but staying within your aesthetic. Like it's kind of it's a funny place for me to explore. And I feel like, Giselle, that you and Brett are a good company to kind of dig into this a little. So, would you start us off and talk about how do you view it for your company?
Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of history. So,
Okay.
Brett and I came from a large interior design firm. It was like the machine, cranking out projects like faster than anything. And at that time, I was in my 20s and we had to design everything from a French chateau to something modern, and everything in between. And we didn't really have a say whether we
Mm.
wanted to do the job or didn't, or if it was even our preference. So years later, when we decided to open up our company, we were doing it for the love and the passion of our craft. So we really
Mm.
wanted to do projects that we were excited about and that really reflected our personal taste. So from the beginning of starting B+G, it was a conscious decision to do designs that were modern and contemporary. And they can be a little Asian, maybe a little traditional, a little French, but true to the contemporary aesthetic.
So I love this. First of all, just I don't think we often think about it. Of all the conversations I've had on the show, I don't think I've ever just sat in that seat that you just described. Here you are, you're both working at a big firm. And like you said, today you have to design a French chateau. Tomorrow you have to do a minimalist place. The next week you have
Yeah.
to do, whatever. And it really, there's got to be times when it's just like, I don't like this kind of style. I don't like this kind of design. Like, I don't want to do this, right? But I'm hearing you had to power through. It's what you were hired to do, to crank it out.
Yeah. And at that time, when we were doing contemporary design, it was crazy because the only form of reference we had was really um,
Mm,
commercial spaces. And I remember even buying products or designing products that were contemporary because there was nothing out there. Nothing was available. And now, as you know, years later, there's a slew of products and materials. We have so many choices in the modern contemporary field. But back then, we
mm,
didn't.
right,
The trends
right,
finally caught
right.
up to us.
Yeah.
We're way ahead
And
of the curve.
and back then we didn't go to Salone, like we're getting ready to go now
Right.
to April, and it's like, oh my God, all the beautiful Italian brands that are out there. And it's like you're salivating. You just can't wait to
Yeah.
bring these products into our clients' home, and you get excited and like the energy and the vibe. And after so many years of doing this, you still want to have that excitement and you want to bring in
Yeah.
those new ideas. And I think as a creative, you want to have those moments. And if you're designing a style that is not true to the essence of who you are, then
Mm.
it's not as fun. And at the end of the day,
Right.
it looks like Brett and I aren't retiring anytime soon. I thought we were going to be
Damn it.
retired by now, but we're not. So if we're going to do it, you got to love it, right?
Yeah.
It really shouldn't feel most of the time like work. But
Right, right, right.
It's kind of
I
like
mean, it
going,
is work and all the things, but right?
yeah.
I was going to say, it's kind of like going to an Italian restaurant and ordering sushi. I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
yes, it's interesting because I think that the market out there thinks, okay, you're interior designers and you're trained and you have experience and you could do any style that you want. And technically we can, but you can only, jack of all trades, master of none. I mean,
Yeah.
we want to do
Yeah.
what we're passionate about, what we really love, and that evolves. And to that end, our design has evolved so much over the years, and it has become a lot more eclectic and representative of our breadth of experience.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
travels.
It's
This
mm,
Yeah,
travel, memory, nostalgia, that trip we took to France, and then all of a sudden it's like you have the moldings, and now it
yeah.
has become more eclectic. But like anything else, we're like fine wine, aging, just right.
I
But
love it.
even in your taste, right? As it
Yes.
you like patinas in such a beautiful way, you have a different appreciation for things and for history.
Mm. Interesting. So I love all of it. And it does give me an appreciation for, A, if you're working in a big firm and you have to do what you have to do, but B, let's think about like, I have to say, it's probably one of the number one questions that I get. The number one question I should get is, how do I set up my system and process? And the number two I should get is, how do I understand my money? But I have to say, probably the number one question that I get all the time is, how do I attract the kind of clients that I want to do that kind of project, right? And so take me back. I get the strong drive now after having to crank out whatever is on your plate. And then when you go to start your own company together and you're like, oh, no. This is going to be our way. It's like, singing elevator music for 5 years as a musician. And now you're like, we're doing heavy rock because that's what I love, right? Like, it's like, we're only going to sing what we want, right? But what's that beginning look like, you guys? What does that beginning look like I don't imagine it happens overnight. And I guess it would probably depend on I don't know what kind of stepping stone that first company might have been. Does it put you out there like, oh, you're automatically a name because of where you came from, or was completely irrelevant? It didn't matter. And you were starting at ground zero awareness. But that beginning of, this is the type of design. And of course, there's going to be nuances and moldings that are going to be added and tweaks and patinas. But essentially, this is our viewpoint on design. If you can either say what you did or talk to the designer listening that's like, I want to do this and nobody around me. So I have actually, this is interesting because it just made me connect. I have a coaching client now that is a brand new designer, and she really loves this lane of, like, she's going to listen to this and be like, that's not what it is, Lou. But this is what I hear when she says it. It's almost like designing homes that are full, real homes. But when you think of glamping, right? Like luxurious camping. And so they're woodsy, they're in rural areas, they're like ski lodges, but it's where you live. This is your aesthetic. And she loves this mix of elegance and function and aesthetics within that thing. And she's like, how do I find these people? And I'm like, this is a great question.
Oh, I got this one.
Good, because we've been working on it and I've been helping her, but we'll take more help, Giselle.
So if she was, somebody that was giving advice to, I would tell her, put your Instagram full of that aesthetics, whether it's through renderings, through inspirational photos, through product, put it on Pinterest, put it wherever you can, put it on House, just put it out there. I mean, now with renderings, create an imaginary client and fill your social media with that. And then in turn, I would go to Google. Under her business. Now Google has a thing where you could add photos and videos. And I would even do videos of her speaking about her passion for glamping. And then all of a sudden, for free, she's able to do Instagram, Google, putting at least the images in there. Now, if she wants to do ads, she'll have to pay for that. But all of a sudden, she has the market is filled with all this imagery and branding of what she enjoys to do, and she's going to attract somebody that she likes to do it. Then I would probably take it a step further, and where are these homes? Get together with a realtor who's selling those glamping locations and work something out with a realtor so they could give them a stream of referrals.
So I love this. So basically you're saying create the persona of this thing,
create
right?
Your image. The same way we do it. We do it every time we choose to get dressed, right? And we show our face to the world.
Exactly. And it's interesting because, it is a conversation we've had on the show before. It's, if you have 5 pictures in your portfolio and 3 are representative of your ideal client, the other 2 have to come away. I don't care if and if you're only left with 3, one day you'll have 4 and one day you'll have 5, but you can't put all the things up. It's so funny because Chloe is probably listening. She usually listens to the show, and I worked with her. This is going back to 2016, I want to say. And her inquiry form to me was, what I'd really like to do is this sort of design and blah, blah, blah. It was a whole thing. And I looked at her website, and her website, she's going to laugh now, because if you looked at her website, I'm not going to out her because I don't know if she wants to be, but her website was filled with like dental offices and doctors' offices and things. But meanwhile, I'm like, do you want, she's like, no, that's just the projects I have. And I'm like, no. They all have to come down, because you're saying you want to do whatever. Well, I think at the time it might have been restaurant design, but everything is a dental office. And it was like painful for her, because she's like, this is my body of work. I'm like, right. But this is also our calling card. And we're telling all the dentists in the UK, call me. You know what I'm saying? So
manifest,
all
baby.
right, now
Manifest.
yeah, right.
You're reading my mind.
And right. And one other question on that. What's your feeling on, because this is like a hot topic, so I may as well get your guys' opinion on it, of filling your Instagram and things with images that are not your own. So are you like, if you've done the rendering, then that's your thing? Like, where are we filling that? Because she's got design work, right? But she doesn't really have design work representative of this luxury home that's in this brand style yet. So how are you suggesting that, Giselle?
So I don't believe in sharing other people's work on your social media, because I think social media is become your calling card. It's your business. People are going in there and they want to see what your brand represents. And it's now with iPhones and the high quality of resolution and all the little gadgets you could order on Amazon in 2 seconds. Like, she could do a mood board. She could go to a vendor. She could go visit a showroom that has that aesthetic, and she creates her own contact with either her with a tripod by herself if she doesn't have an assistant to help her. There's so many different ways. I think what happens is we get so caught up in why it wouldn't work. And sometimes just by speaking to other professionals or listening to a podcast and speaking to other professionals on how they do it, it's like, it's so inspirational. I know it's helped me a lot to cut out any excuses not to succeed. Is like, just do the work. And I think
Yeah.
part of the problem, at least that I'm seeing, and this is probably not going to go so popular, but I'm going to say it out there. We come from in a generation of hard working, like hard work. And I'm not talking about, like coming in at 10 and leaving at 4:30 and taking a 2-hour break and, vacationing all over the world. When you're building your business, there is no vacation. There is no downtime. There is no personal life. So when you're seeing somebody succeed, maybe at a more rapid pace, but let's say their social media is showing them vacationing here and vacationing there, it's a rarity. You
Yeah.
really just got to get to work. And I feel like this new generation, right, wrong, or indifferent, maybe I need to get on their boat, because they look like they're having a lot more fun than I did at the beginning. But my point is, like, get to work. Get to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
You want to see
Yeah.
good results? Like, get out there.
This episode is sponsored by My Doma Studio. My Doma Studio is your complete designer toolkit. My Doma makes it easy to streamline your processes, track projects, communicate with clients, and get everything organized. It's created by designers for designers, and it specifically addresses what you need as a business owner in this very complex industry. I've said countless times that systems and processes are how you reach the next level of profitability and peace of mind. My Doma Studio makes it easy to do that. You can get 20% off your first 3 months by going to mydomastudio.com/a well-designed business. Yeah. No, I love it. You know what's funny? Because to your point, she's got an area in her home that when I watch on the Zoom and we have our coaching calls, I'm like, what about that? That's a great space. You have one sofa there. Do a whole vignette there. I'm like, get the product, put it in there. I'm like, decorate that one area and then create all the different shots, the big room shot, the little slice shot, like if you can, you want to put your work out there and what you can do. And because I said to her, what would you do in that space in your aesthetic? What's different? And she was right on it. She's like, it with this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, great, go do it. So mood boards. And like, I love your idea of if you're at the different markets to take some video and shots from the furniture brands and manufacturers that represent that aesthetic. And you're just getting it all out there. Very interesting.
What do you think about using non-design oriented imagery too? Meaning like when you're trying to create this mood, you're trying to say something, maybe you're talking about glamping, using that as an example, show people, some cool image of some people hanging out.
Just the wilderness area.
Whatever it is that's associated, because we see that a lot in people's
Yep.
Instagram accounts. And again, I have to defer to Giselle because she's really in charge of this for our company, though we both have a vision about what we want it to be. But she contributes to creating that. But I think it's always impactful as a consumer of social media when you see, imagery that is obviously it's not a design job or it's not their design job. What we hate
but
is
it's real life.
But it's real life.
He's not talking about like somebody else's design. You're talking about
Correct.
a snapshot of where this house might be situated, or the neighborhood and the lifestyle of the community that house that her ideal client would live in. You're talking about, right, Brett?
Evoking an emotion. I mean, we just came
Right.
back. Giselle and I went to the Cosentino Summit in Cabo a couple months ago,
Oh, you
right,
guys were on
right
that.
before K-Biz, because everyone went to K-Biz afterwards.
Nice.
Right?
Yes.
We got invited. It was fantastic. And it was I recommend to anybody, if you have the opportunity to go to this, go to it. The See Next event. It's fantastic. But I bring that up because the overriding message consistently throughout See Next was all about stimulating and evoking emotion and this personal connection to our clients and our projects. Not, hey, here's a pretty room, but how does that room make you feel? I want to feel relaxed. I want to feel stimulated. I want to, whatever it is. And this goes to the, using imagery to evoke an emotion that might not be design, but it might speak to the design that you want to create.
Right. It could be art that's representative of it. It's funny because it reminds me of the conversation I had with Raj, who is the branding photographer that I used last year. And part of his discovery process is asking you to create a Pinterest board, right? When he wants to get to know you. And what was interesting was the way he described what he wanted me to collect on this Pinterest board is he said, collect images that feel like you, that feel like who you are, that what you represent and who you are at your core. And I'm like, wait, what? And I'm thinking I'm going on Pinterest looking for like examples of headshots or branding photography, like poses, right? And he's like, no, he goes, I want to know who you are. And we were friends, but friends for 6 months, not friends for 60 years, right? And so he's like, I have a sense of who you are. He goes, but I want to know, who do you think you are? And I remember I was like, okay. And then we got together the next, we were like, okay, I haven't seen your Pinterest board. And I'm just like, yeah, because I haven't done it. And he's like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't get the assignment. I'm like, I don't get it. Oh my God, I don't understand. So we get on a Zoom call again. And that's when he said, Brett, just what you said. He goes, LuAnn, I don't care if the entire board is filled with images. He said, I don't care if there's a person in the image. He goes, collect things that mean something to you, quotes, visuals, whatever. And I was like, oh, that I can do. And now came back all the things. And what happens is, just like you just said that, Brett, right? Like if somebody came to you, Giselle, and said, these are all the images that make me feel like my house should feel, but they're not sofas and lamps. It's images that create and evoke an emotion. And it was crazy because just like I'm sure you're capable, when he saw that, he was like, oh, okay, so you're like a fierce bitch that stands in her space and, blah, blah, blah. But you're also very loving and caring. And you want people to, everybody around you do their, like, I was just like, and God, did I write a diary that I don't know about? Like, it was wild. From images.
A picture's worth
Isn't
a
that
thousand
interesting?
words.
Yes. Yeah. So I love both of these blendings of these ideas. And so these are great practical tips to starting to put your brand out there in front of other people. But you do have to do probably some self-reflection. And in the case of being married and running a business together, there has to be some synergy in that reflection of what is the brand that we're going to put out to the world. Because I know I work with my husband, and there are times when I'm like, no, that is not, well, I don't see why not. I'm like, no, that is not. And I say to him, that image or that statement or this is going to be perceived this way. It's like, no, it's not. I'm like, yes, it is. Like, stop. So talk to me about the first step, which is getting together in your head. What is your brand and what is your messaging in your brand? How did you guys do that together?
Well,
Well, go ahead, babe.
that part was easy because we had been already.
It was.
Yeah, that part was easy because the moment we started working together, and that's where the magic happened. And
you had the synergy.
We had that
How do you
synergy.
think we went from working together to being husband and
Married?
wife?
It's
It
recently.
was kismet.
Recently, I described designing together with Brett at the first years together. It was like almost like design foreplay. Because it was like our company name is B+G, and the plus is not and, it's plus, was from, let's say Brett would show me something and floor plan, and I'm like, well, why don't we do this? And then he would be like, wait, then let's do that. And then we would be like, ooh, that's hot, that's so good, or whatever. And I remember the first time we did like an installation of one of our projects, and we had designed together, and when I first met Brett, I remember he had already had this beautiful portfolio, and it was the old school large portfolio, and he gave me the whole spiel about his father being an architect and his mom being an interior designer. And I'm like, well, I went to Miramar High, public school in Florida, because I'm no filter and I say it the way it is. And he had this wide vocabulary of the way he spoke and everything, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't stand this dude. But the moment we started designing together, and we started,
there's a spark.
All the sparks were flying. So that's one thing we were very clear on our vision. And I have to say, as we've grown together in this journey we're in of designing the best life we can live, right? It's been very uniform. We have arguments about different things, but it's never usually about the design, the aesthetic, because I let him do his thing, and I have complete and full trust that he's going to do what's best for us and for the company and be well representative. And that only comes with years of experience and years of time and devotion and going through the hard times, the gritty, the 2007 where, our business was down like for the count, and we were like, how the hell are we going to make this happen? How are we going to get out of it? Right. So and he has complete faith and trust in me that what I'm doing is going to be what's best for us as well. So, but that comes with time, work, and energy. And when I see like these couples or partnerships like complaining and doing this or doing that, you have to go through the process, but don't give up. It gets better if you continue to work at it. And I feel in today's society, people tend to throw away things. And I'm really proud of the fact that even when I wanted to run away, I didn't. And that wasn't because of me, because I'm like I used to be like the runaway bride. I'm like, oh my God. Brett would be like, you're not going anywhere. And he would like rile me up. And he's like, so I think picking out a partner that balances you out and that gets you. And in my case, Brett being older definitely did help, because the maturity that he had and the lack of maturity that I had, definitely balanced out during the times where we needed it. But also the fact that it was maybe not as mature as he was, I was so like fearless. And I don't think we would have even left that company that we met each other at if I wasn't young and fearless and didn't know as much as I know now. You have to be a little bit naive to make those huge, bold moves. And sometimes I try to keep that innocence, even though I'm already like at the other end of the spectrum, because that's what's gotten us this far, right? Has been that
Yeah.
spontaneous, that like risk taker. Well, Brett is, I have faith in him that he'll be very calculated, that he'll look at the numbers, that he'll but this, but that, whatever. Now a day he's like, where are we going, honey? I'm on that G train. Let's go. So
That's right.
because he knows I'm a bit of a witch, I have good intuition, and he knows that the moves that we've made, the risks that we've made, has only brought us to bigger and better places. And that comes with a little bit of everything, right? Intuition. I don't know. Just that, yeah,
Analysis.
all of it.
So you bring Brett all right, let's look at the numbers first.
Yes.
And then we can jump
Yes.
off the bridge.
Yes.
I'm a little, paralysis by analysis, and that's one of the things that I've learned with the help of my beautiful wife over many years to kind of move away from, though that's just my instinct. But yeah, I'm the hyper analytical one, and my nickname for Giselle used to be Jump Then Look, and that's kind of what got us here, because that was her. It was totally Jump Then Look, and I'd be like, well, I'm not sure, and I could do it from 2 steps further back, and I could, and I would never jump. So,
and I was the typical Latin wife, or partner, that I would be like, well, if you don't do it, I'm just going to do it myself. I'm like,
so
it took
I didn't really have a choice.
It took us 3 years to find our house. And then finally because he would find something wrong with every single property that I would show him. And after the last one, which we lived in for 10 years, I said, well, if you're not going to buy it, I'm going to buy it on my own. I'm like, that's it.
That's it. And you're invited to live in it or not,
right.
But I'm moving.
We're moving. The kids need a yard. The dog needs a yard. I'm tired of this apartment. And I go, watch, I'm going to have a hard time getting you out of here. Lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. And it's so
like funny.
That.
You're very like Vin and myself. Yeah. You're very like.
It wasn't that hard getting me out of the house, because I love where we are. Now we live in an apartment again. But empty, an
that's
empty
the next
nester
stage.
apartment. It's a little different.
That's right. The next stage, right? Yeah. And it's funny because Vinny also, when I first met him, he had a nickname for me. And one day, very early in the relationship, however, and he just said to me, all right, Lou Bird, I'll see you later. And I was like, I turned around and looked at him. I'm like, Lou Bird? And he goes, you are about the freest person I've ever met. And every time I spend time with you, I just think of a free bird.
I love that.
So, yeah, right? Right. And so it's that same thing. And, but I have, to your point, Giselle, the exact same trust in Vin. It's like, I'll push the envelope. I'll do all the things. Even like when I came to him and I'm like, here's my plan for the podcast. I was like, I think it's going to cost this much money. And and I had to put it all out in front of him. But I have to say, if I had less trust in him, then I would have had to only trust myself with this huge risk, right? And so I don't know. I mean, I'm another 10 years older than you, Giselle, and I now have this awareness that I have the freedom to be the wackadoodle and press the ideas, because I absolutely know God help me whenever he says yes to an idea, like the podcast. Then it's kitty part of the gate. Let's go. And if he says, right. But if he says no, it's like, I got to think twice. I got to and by the way, at this stage in our life, there's times where I'm just like, no, sorry, I don't care. That's my money. I'm doing it.
Me
right?
too.
And by the way, sometimes it doesn't work out. And then he's standing there going, I told you so. And I'm like, awesome. So glad, but whatever. You know what I'm saying? But I do think that it's been a great gift in my life to have this visionary way of looking and thinking and this risk taking and pushing the envelope, but to have the guy next to me who's safe and who's smart and can do the numbers and actually put to practicality the idea. And I have the capability, and I'm sure you do as well at this point, Giselle, of putting it to practicality, but I will never ever underestimate. When that man says green light, I'm just like, yes, like I have a great idea and he loves it. It must be a great idea. Let's go.
The irony of the whole thing is how my role switched. When I first started working with Brett, and I was 25 going to be 26. Yeah. My whole experience since I was 21 was doing cost outs, invoicing, purchasing, all the numbers, which was hysterical to me because I never like numbers, but I like money. And I like nice things.
And
so the
money are numbers.
Right.
Money is numbers.
So when we got partnered up, the reason he brought the business and he brought the talent because he was experienced in that, and I had all this experience. I had finished design school, but I had all this experience in the backgrounds of the business. And what's funny is I barely deal with that anymore. Brett deals with that, and I'm more of, I like to say creative director. It's, all the different listen, as a business owner, you put a million hats on, right?
Sure.
So it's one of the many that I put on.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So thinking about that and thinking about the extended team that you guys have and thinking about your different roles, what does that look like? So when it's time to hire or to maneuver bodies, is it Brett looking at the numbers and saying, yes, we can pull another salary. We can put another salary onto the business. Is it, I just tell you from our experience, I often, not always, so sometimes he'd say we need an installer and off to the races. But I would often be like, we need this next thing. But he had to make it make sense from a money standpoint. And if it made sense from a business standpoint to hire another administrator, that's awesome, Lou. But if I don't have the money for it, you don't get the administrator. You just keep doing, do 60 hours a week instead of 40, sweetie. Get back to it. So is that how you guys do it?
To your question, LuAnn, Giselle and I, when it comes to administering the business, really share the responsibilities for the big, broad decisions. They might emanate from one of us, but we always consult the other and we always make those decisions analytically together. When it comes down to hiring or firing, well, that's a little different energy. But let's just say when it comes to hiring or building our team, we're actually at that point right now where we're looking to expand a little bit. We've very deliberately managed our growth and very deliberately kept our firm at a boutique level because we wanted to stay hands-on as creatives. But at this point in our lives, with me almost 60 and Giselle almost 50 and some other things that are happening in business that we can talk about, we've decided that it's time for us to expand a little bit so that we can kind of take a step or two back. With the idea of taking, some further steps back down the road. So in that
setting up the next phase.
Right. So in that process, we're both, Giselle mentioned earlier, we like to have these real deep conversations. We'll come home, in the evening, and usually we watch a lot of TV, but if we're not watching TV, we'll be like, hey, we can't watch TV all the time. We'll listen to some music and, and relax. And then invariably we'll dive into some deep conversation. And, the interesting thing is we're always, and I have to credit Giselle with this especially, but we're always trying to evolve and grow and improve. We're if anything, I become a little more complacent because I'm married to the most wonderful woman in the world and I have the best partner that ever lived. And
I trained him well, right?
And I really mean that too. I really do believe those things.
I know you do.
Really
I can see it in your face.
But what was my point? Just that, we have all these wonderful blessings in our lives, but, so I become a little bit more complacent. Giselle's always like, okay, that was great yesterday, but what are we going to do today? Which I love.
You're from the same cloth.
Yeah, exactly. No question about it.
Giselle.
But the reality is she knows that I'm already thinking that. She just has to pull it out of me.
Nudge you.
She has to, because I'll sit and I'll focus and I'll, hone in on, okay, what do I need to do to make this happen? And sometimes I just lose that vision. Right. So we have these conversations and these are opportunities where we're going to be like, you know what, this is how I've been feeling. And we'll talk about, okay, we're ready to make this step. And she'll be like, wow, really? I didn't know your head was there. And I'll be, yeah, we've been thinking the same thing. I just been less vocal about it, which is ironic, but it is the case. So when it comes to that point, we'll discuss these things and we'll make these decisions together. And then when it comes down to, like hiring specifically, it depends on what position we're looking to hire. If it's something that I'm a little bit more of an expert about, I'll take the lead. If it's something that she's a little bit more of an expert about, she'll take the lead.
Go ahead.
What I'm really sensitive about when it comes to hiring is there has to be a good synergy with the person. I don't care what their skill set is. It's so important that they work well as a team, as a group with us, that they have a can-do attitude, because the moment you stick that bad apple with the rest of the team, it messes everything up. So I rather have less employees, physical employees in our space, and let's say outsource some of the positions, than have a personality where they're entitled or they just don't know.
Did you lose her too?
Yeah, she froze.
Okay, so now you get to hear in real time me having my fun little life with technology. We got cut off. We were almost at the end. We got cut off with internet problems and then other problems. And so here's the thing. I think despite this being a little shorter than a typical interview, we still got a lot of goodness out of Giselle and Brett, right? We learned that about their business and how it is that they work so well together. In fact, it's another example of how important it is when you are going into business with your husband, your wife, your best friend, your spouse, your partner, whatever it is, that it should be someone who complements you and has the knowledge and expertise in things that maybe you're not so great at. Okay. The Vincenz and I have completely opposite superpowers. It doesn't always have to be that way, but that just means you have to find a third person on that little, stool there, right? Now, this is the secret sauce of all these successful duos and partnerships. Married or business partners, it doesn't matter. You have to be open to being in business with someone that you really understand and appreciate those nuances and those differences, and understand that as much as they drive you crazy, this is what you're looking for because this complements you the best, right? Now, I have to say, on my other podcast, Window Treatments for Profit, we are right now in the middle of a series of episodes which we have called Bound by Business. These are interviews specifically with including family-owned business owners, parents and adult children, mother and daughters-in-laws, any combo you can think of. And Jessica Harling of Behind the Design is guest hosting these episodes because she is a fourth-generation business professional, and she is uniquely qualified to have these conversations. So far, 2 of the episodes in the series have aired, and we will link those episodes in the show notes for you. If you are in a family business or you might be joining one, these are terrific insights on how to handle the inevitable touchy times. So I told you in the intro that Brett and Giselle reminded me a lot of the Vincenz and myself, right? Giselle and I both have strong opinions, yet we both trust our husbands 100%. So when we have one of our crazy ideas or opinions, we do go and consult with them on the business decisions and on the risks that are on the table. And the thing is, I can tell you this, it doesn't mean that, I'm sure Giselle also, it doesn't mean I always take his advice. It doesn't mean that we always just say, okay, whatever you say. But, I can tell you from experience, when you get the buy-in of someone that you love and you respect as a business person, and you know that they have your back and they want success for you, when they vet your idea and it feels like a win-win for both of you, you both agree. Here's the thing, if it doesn't work, because that happens, you're looking at each other going, hey, we gave it our best shot. We both thought it was a good idea, because some things do go sideways. But having that extra layer of, you thought it was a good idea too. I did too. And okay, things don't work out, right? And that is what I'm seeing in their dynamic. And of course, that's what I've experienced as well. I will tell you, as a little side note, this is exactly why I developed the Chairman of the Board coaching program, because I know many business owners, you may be one of them, do not have this trusted sounding board. And I know how often I do go vet the ideas against Vin. And so being that person for any one of you that might be alone in business is the goal of the chairman of the board. And I could see this in their dynamic as well, whether it's Brett with an idea or Giselle with an idea. It's that there's just that trust that the idea is being considered from all angles and from the best spot ever. Okay. They put into perspective also the importance of doing what you love. Right? Giselle was saying in the beginning how they both started in a design company where they had no say as to the kind of projects that they worked on. And they were assigned projects and it was uninspiring to them, right? They, were doing the work, putting in, quality and all the things, but not feeling fulfilled. And so for them to go out and start their own company and do the projects that excite them and inspire them, this is icing on the cake now for this power couple, right? Now, here's the thing. Giselle was eager to share her advice on how to attract clients who want your specific design aesthetic. And when we finally got our tech figured out afterwards, it was like 20 minutes later. It was crazy. She shared some ideas with me off air, okay, because she really did want to share it with you. So one tip that she said was that when you post pictures on your social media or your website, make sure that every single picture is representative of the design style that you want to do. Okay, so I know we've heard this tip before, but it bears repeating. Maybe you've got 5 pictures in a portfolio and only 2 reflect the style that you want to do. Well, don't put the other 3 up. I know it's hard. I know it is. But if you put them all up and the other 3 are really not the kind of work you want to do, guess who's going to call you? People that appeals to. And this is her point. She's saying take no chances. Don't confuse people. This is specifically when you want to design in a specific aesthetic, the way that Giselle and Brett do. Now, there are a couple of other tips that Giselle had, and we put them on a goodie for you. So you can go to LuAnnNigara.com/goodies, GOODIES. All right. Now, before I leave you, if you are listening in real time on Tuesday, whatever the day is, it's probably June 3rd or something like that, 2024. This Friday, June 7th, is the New Jersey leg of Power Talk Friday Tour. You still have time to join us. There are a couple of seats left. Go to powertalkfriday.com and you can join me, Nicole Heimer, Vita Vykoska, Peter Lang, Jessica Harling for an intense day of connections, solutions, growth, aha moments. This is major value packed into this one-day event, and I'd love to see you there. Thank you, Giselle and Brett. If I would have had a chance to say this on air, I wanted to tell you that it was a pleasure getting to know you both, laughing with you, and seeing the similarities in your relationship to me and the Vincennes. It was kind of fun. So thank you for sharing your journey with us. I love seeing partners who balance each other out and work together to create a business and a life that they love. And thank you for listening. I appreciate that you show up. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnNigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.